A very good afternoon, everyone. Please let me know that whether I'm visible and audible so that we can start the discussion. Please let me know. Perfect. So today we'll be discussing the case of essay paper. We'll be taking a detailed look on what came in the essay paper, what could have been possibly written in those specific 3 hours of time, and how you can start preparing your essay paper for 2027 attempt, 28 attempt, 29 attempt. So this will be a special session in which we'll be discussing the detailed aspects of the essay topics that have come, how an individual can prepare now for the upcoming topics and the upcoming attempts of 27, 28 and 29. So let us start discussing the case of essay paper. And before starting that, why it is important, why almost all the people who are on YouTube, almost all the different coaching institutes are taking a discussion of what essay paper. The only important sole reason is that according to the UPSC annual report, what we find is that this is the scoring of the mains papers. This is the scoring. And what the scoring tells us this, that first, on an average, from the last 10-15 years, you can see that on an average, an individual scores the maximum marks in the optional papers. So first, whatever the optional may be it your from the natural sciences, from the social sciences, from the commerce sciences. So the context is that optional paper scores the highest in mains. And then comes the case of essay paper that we have. And therefore, students often prepare what GS1, history, polity, geography, economy, but they hardly actually take the low-hanging fruits, the case of what the essay paper, the GS4 ethics paper, which is now going on. So this will be the case. And therefore, if you really want to excel into the preparation of what UPSC and UPSC exam, you have to focus on these 3 things first. Your optional paper should be like that it is the woman you are going to marry. It is this saying which goes in ORN in Delhi. And then your essay and ethics should not be the neglected one, but should be the most important low-hanging fruits that you have completed and that you have prepared very holistically and very comprehensively. So this is something that you should remember first of all. Second, if you talk about this was the paper, we will see what are the ground rules of what attempting the paper. We will see how you can actually brainstorm on certain tools and techniques and skills that you have using the context of this discussion. Pavitran, we will be doing the context of geography paper discussion as well. And today the class was not there because there were papers as well. So we'll be having tomorrow class at 7. Now, focus here. This is not the right place to discuss other things. Now, focus here. We have essay paper 26. This was section A. We have again each section you have 4 choices. And if you talk about, you will be awarded from 125 marks, which is the maximum marks for each section. The overall paper is of 250 marks. Then we have 90 minutes. So 180 minutes translates to 3 hours. And that means that for per essay, we have 90 minutes and roughly a student needs to write in around 1100 to 1200 words. That means around 11, 12, 13 pages you will be writing in your essay sheets. Now let us see how we can divide further the time limits, how we can brainstorm, how you can actually come out with the topics and the content of these questions. It is the case. Now if we try to understand further, again this is section B. Again we have 4 choices. This is the setup. And if you want to see, these were the topics. We have also taken the first reaction of it. But today we'll be seeing and discussing how an individual can dissect, can decode, can decipher the topics, their specific keywords, their destination, what they try to take out from the aspirant. So we will see all of these things. So first, I'm just reading in English and also in Hindi they are written there. Oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. This was first topic. Again, a bit tricky in the sense that you should be very much clear with the word oxymoron. You must clear it with the word ironies of life. Further, if you talk about second is a grateful mind is very beautiful. Almost all the students I have talked, majority of them, 90% of them attempted this particular essay topic, that is a grateful mind is a very beautiful mind because it is simplistic, it is straightforward, it is giving you a defined set of idea. Third is a thorn is a changed bud. So we know that we have plants, we have sometimes the bud actually has possibilities of various changes and transformations, but sometimes it actually transforms into becoming a thorn, a kanta. And that is the context. A thorn is a changed bud. And fourth, we have when 2 elephants fight, it is the grass that gets trampled. So we know the context that when 2 individuals, 2 powers, 2 corporations, 2 groups, 2 societies, 2 elders of a family actually fight. It is the weaker section, the person who is at a disadvantaged state actually gets what trembled. So we will see if mother and father are fighting, the outcome can be a divorce, and the divorce can be what? A disadvantage to the child of that family. So that can be a context. So these were the 3 to 4 choices we have. Now majority I have seen have what attempted this particular essay topic. Okay, this particular essay topic. Now let us not put any number here. So this was the first preference of students I have talked personally. This was the first preference they have taken. Of course, here you can attempt the essays, but the technicalities were relatively what? More. And therefore the context was कि you have to have some diversity of themes, diversity of exemplifications which you can write so that you can showcase your depth and flow of what you're writing. And therefore choosing 1 and 3 depends upon individual skill set. And second preference as per the majority and as per me should be this. Again, there are so many exemplifications when 2 elephant fight, India, Pakistan. It can be 2 tribal warheads or warlords, etc., etc. So this can be a context. Further, if you talk about, so this is the other 4 choices. Nature is a symbol of the spirit. How actually our spirit can understand, learn so many things from nature, and also how nature is a reflection of the spirit that individuals hold. Our spirit can be as strong and as tough as what? Mountains. Our spirit can be as malleable as what? The case of winds or what? Rivers. So there can be multitude of what? Analysis that can be seen here as well. Further, if we talk about a well-educated mind is always have what? More questions than answers. Yes, it is true. We know that a real education meaning is not what? Is not merely possessing the amount of information. It is having that wisdom that are you able to solve the actual problems of what the life is, of humanity is. And therefore, those actual problems are nothing but questions in front of what? Individuals. And those questions can only be what? Can only be solved if you ask what? More and more relevant questions on that context. So this is the case. So a well-educated mind will always have what? More questions than answers. Then we will be looking at how we can again brainstorm and come out with around 11, 12 other dimensions here. Then shelving hard decisions is the least ethical course. Keeping aside the case of what? Hard decisions can lead to what? Least ethical what? Course of action. The outcomes can be least ethical. But can we also have what? Sometimes we also hold hard decisions so that we can have what? We can actually control a bigger tragedy. That can also be a case. So we will also be seeing that can we give some antithesis also in these thesis based essay topics. Further we have is last is a good leader is one who follows the followers. But we will again have a counter idea here that a good leader is also one who will not always follow the followers, because the followers at times can be incorrect as well. The followers can actually demand things which are not justified or which are not good in the longer term. And therefore, a good leader also can be what? Can be counter to their followers at times for the betterment of the followers in a longer run. So we will be seeing what is thesis, what is antithesis, and what is finally a synthesis in our what? Understanding. Now, what are the steps? What are the steps that we take while understanding and attempting the paper of what? Essay. First and foremost is the most important is the $1 billion question, that is selection of the topics. It is the most important step. And why I'm saying $1 billion? Because it can make and break your attempt. So the first important is selection of the topics. So I have told you that based upon the depth, the exemplifications, this is my personal choice. You can comment your choice in the comment section. So this can be the selection choice I will be taking in the first section, and in section 2, again I will be doing what? Again I can take this as what? First preference. First preference. And second preference I can go with is this one also, because hard decisions, the question is just shelving, seemingly what technical term you might be feeling, but it's just holding hard decisions the least what? Ethical course. But you can give so many exemplifications here. If the country of India is not preparing for AI, if India is not structurally changing its what? Education system, that is a decision that Indian leaders now have to take. If they are not taking it, what will be the context? That it will be the least ethical course of action of our governments, of our governance for the future generations. Because if unemployment will be there, if per capita income will be declined there, if India will be left behind the competition at the global level, then who will suffer? We Indians will suffer. Various exemplifications you will be getting, and therefore this can be what? This can be a second preference. Again, it depends. If an individual has what prepared some of them in the past, if an individual is from the environmental sciences background, is from the geographical sciences background, they can also attempt this as well. They can also attempt what this as well. So this is the context, because the most important section and the step is selection of the topics, because once you are selecting it, finalizing it, you cannot look back after few minutes, because now the time is what ticking, and you cannot what decide them in haste. You have to what understand them. You have to read them twice, multiple times, again revisit your thoughts. Do you have the required content to what write in next 11-12 pages? Do you have the required depth, diversity, flow, generation of points with respect to that topic? All these things should be what clear. All these things should be clear. Then comes the most fundamental step as well, and that is what brainstorm. Now you have to brainstorm. Now all of you will have to what apply your mind as to what this oxymoron means. What are reflections in life? What are ironies of life? We have studied that a famous social scientist said that whatever you say true about India, the opposite is always true. Whatever you say true about India, or whatever you say about India, the opposite is always true. We have heard this thing many times. So you will say that India is very poor. Yes, India, a part of India is very poor, but a part of India is ultra super rich. You will say a part of India is very modern, but a part of India is very backward as well in terms of what? In terms of understanding the social realities. You can see that in Gurgaon, you have DLF Mall and all the DLF cyber hub cities, etc., which look very modern, which look very Western. But few kilometers from what? Few kilometers from Gurgaon, that cyber city hub, you will find that khap panchayats are there. You find there are issues of what? Honor killing, which has been happening. So all these are what? These are ironies, these are oxymorons which exist on the geographical space. And they exist as a part of life. They exist as a part of life. They exist as a part of life. Perfect. So this is the context. Now if we want to what? Now we have to brainstorm it. We have to see what all things we can decode, what all dimensions we can what come out with. We have to think on those lines. And then we have to what? Out of those 90 minutes that you have, how you will divide those 90 minutes. It is the key now. So what you will be doing is first, second, third point, you will be what? You will be roughly using your what? Around 25 to 30 minutes. You will be brainstorming different dimensions which are coming in your mind, different keywords coming in your mind, different examples coming in your mind. You will be brainstorming it, you will be structuring them on a piece of what paper. At the end of your paper, you will be what structuring it, you will be what framing it now. That okay, now whatever I have written, this will be my what, this can come in my introduction, these 4-5 things can come in my introduction, then this particular statement can come as a thesis statement, what it is, I will coming on that, then I can put in what, the paragraph 1, the paragraph 2, the paragraph 3, and you will be what structuring it. And you will be taking good 20-25 minutes on doing this, and I will be putting in what? Conclusion. So this is called as what? This is called as what? Structuring and frameworking. And then your final draft will be what? Prepared. Final draft will be what? Prepared. And this entire working, you will now be what? Writing for the next 55 to 60 minutes. It depends upon person to person. It depends upon their speed. It depends upon their contemplation of the ideas. Divya, you can share your experiences in the essays, but those should be very codified, short, precise, and with what? Brevity. Of course, personal experiences can also be shared, especially in psychological and philosophical essays. And we see that 6 to 7 essays every year are coming from the domain of what? Psychology and what? Philosophy. Then proofread. So last 2 to 5 minutes, we can just give as a proofread for our intros and conclusions especially, and especially the important junctures which cannot be what? Which cannot go wrong. So we can what? Just check them for some grammatical errors, for some flow, etc., so that they do not go what? Low. And please, you can write your what? Write your doubts anywhere related with what? The case of your what? Essay writing, and I will be happy to help that. Perfect. So we have what? Students who are watching, perfect. Now, the context here is these will be the steps. I will be giving you how you can actually brainstorm today. What should be brainstorm in these essay topics as well. We will be looking at that. Now, further if you talk about, so before going further, this is the PYQ analysis of the essay paper. So we have taken from what COVID, and this is the post-COVID world you have. So from 2019 to 2026, you have what you can see one important theme and thing, and that is ethics and philosophy is increasing consistently, is on a rising trend. And to be specific, this time also the topics were largely from what philosophy and psychology, although you can plot them in what the context of environment, polity, society, but still they have deep inside them the case of philosophy and psychology only. So this is the context. So this is a theme which has become sort of another paper itself, and you have to prepare this thing. There are no static, direct, inference based topics, GS like topics which are coming now in essays. Gone are those days when technology, health, education will be asked in a general sense. They have made the essay to become what philosophical and highly applied, so that an individual can decode his or her what mindset and can put it on what piece of paper. And this is the context that we have. Now, sir, how we can brainstorm? Can you please give us some tools and techniques? So there are roughly around more than 25 tools and techniques that we can actually use to thought and to decode our essays. One is the most famous and the most used, abused tool and technique is the case of PESTLE. So here P stands for what? Here P stands for our political, economic, social, technological, legal, environmental, etc., etc. So those dimensions you can think upon. Does the topic is having any political aspect? So example, oxymorons are what? The ironies of life. So we have an oxymoron. What is an oxymoron? We are coming on that. That is having a contradicting ideas putting together. So we have partition. So partition is happening, but the partition is also giving what? Independence to Indians. So on one hand we have what? Every damn reason to celebrate, but on the other hand we have every damn reason to mourn or to feel guilty and to fall remorse because of the partition which is happening, which is also killing many peoples. And so that is the context. So political context. So you have to think on these things. Again, you don't have to write your essay in what political, economic, technological, environmental, legal, ethical. No, that should not be the case. Then WH and how. WH means what is it, where it is, why it is, when it is. Example, sometimes UPSC asks that life is all about what? A journey from human being to being human, Salman Khan wala. And therefore, so you can ask some questions in your essays. You can ask some questions in your dimensions so that you can make your essay more interesting and intriguing. Hello. Yes, so we are resuming now. Perfect. Please let me know whether I'm visible and audible. There was some glitch which occurred. Now we are all ready and all set. Please let me know whether we are visible and audible so that we can start again. Yes. So I was saying you that there are various tools and techniques which we can use in our in our essay discussion. So the context is what? PESTLE we have already discussed. That includes the case of what? Political, economic, social, technological, legal, ethical, environmental, etc., etc. All sorts of things can be seen. Now again, if we talk about the WH and how, so what is the thing, when is the thing has happened, where is the thing has happened, so all those things we can understand here. Further, if we talk about, we have the WIMS. Now WIMS include various other aspects. We can use the context of world history, the context of the context of information based aspects, some mythological context can be seen, some sports related things can be seen, some spirituality related things can be seen. So all these things concludes the case of WIMS. Then we have what temporal analysis, that what was the case was in the ancient times, then during the medieval times, then during the modern times, then during the post-modern times, and till present what can be seen. Further, if we talk about, we have spatial analysis, that is the analysis at the level of what, at the level of a district, at the level of a state, at the level of what, a nation, at the level of what, at the level of world or the global level. So spatial analysis of a particular topic can be done. I will be contextualizing them for each and every essay that you will be looking forward. Then the sixth approach is from I to all, that is from an individual, that is towards, from an individual towards the case of family, then from family to case of what, group, society, then to what, state, nation, and all, again what, all together to the level of what, international level. So again we have what other aspects. So we can have a thesis. Yes, we can say that a well-educated mind is a mind having what, more questions than answers. Yes, this is the case, but can there be an antithesis of it? Can sometimes individuals who give more answers, can they be an answer and the context to our understanding? So they can also be a case. We have to give what, antithesis as well. Example, there was this essay topic we have this essay topic, that a good leader is one who follows the followers. But towards the end of the essay, can we give some counterintuitive ideas? Can we give some antithesis? If we are treating this particular statement as a thesis, can we give some what, antithesis as well? What can be an antithesis? We can also say that a good leader is also one who at times can also do not follow or not necessarily follow its follower, because follower demands can be from a narrow perspective, but a leader is one who can see a vision, who can see a long-term horizon, and therefore sometimes a good leader can also not necessarily be what, listening to followers as well for a long-term gain and not for a short-term gain. So that antithesis can also be given. So these are various tools and techniques that we can use. Then sectional analysis, we can use the various different sections in our understanding. There can be tribals, there can be marginalized groups, there can be women's, there can be what, there can be transgender, there will be people from LGBTQ community, etc, etc. So sectional and sectarian basis of analysis can also be done. Further, we have what, imaginative or thought experiments we can do sometimes. We can imagine, we can start our what, essay from what, that India in 2050 and what AI should look in what, 2050. So artificial intelligence, imaginative context, what will be the context of robotics, etc, etc. Can robotics provide those oxymorons and what, the ironies of life, happiness, etc, etc. All these things will be what, doing there as well. And sometimes we can also what, draw analogies. Sometimes we can what, we can give some observational realities, that is explaining this thing with the use of what, something else, something more what, generic, something more what, relatable to the mind of the examiner. So all these are what, all these are around 10 techniques we have discussed here in the classes. We also discussed what, many techniques beyond that. So these are the important tools and techniques that one can use in what, brainstorming and writing the essay, So this is something that you should what, remember, and these are important things. Now let us start understanding and what, detailing the case of what, essays. So we have what, essay number 1, and essay number 1 says what, oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. Oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. Now whenever an essay comes to you, what you have to do is you have to what, dissect the essay by taking the meaning of individual words, and always ask this question from yourself as well, that are you getting the meaning of the individual words? You should know well enough, properly, clearly the case of what do you mean by oxymorons. Then what are ironies of life? You should remember and you should what, understand them first clearly. Otherwise, don't go with this topic. Now, if we're discussing this, let us try to understand this, because whatever the content we are preparing here, who knows that this same content can be applied with some other what, essay topic that you will be writing in your 27-28 attempt. So the context here is oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. Let us now dissect the essay topic. Let us first understand the meaning of the term oxymoron. So the term oxymoron means that it is what? It is the opposite ideas and they have their hidden meaning. Example, the opposite ideas which coexist. Example, we have what? We have sweet sorrow. Now sorrow is something which gives what? Pain, suffering, risk. How it can be sweet? That is an oxymoron. Or living dead. See, we are saying that you are what, as good as a living dead. It is an oxymoron. Again, a good oxymoron, that is what you study in your economics, is jobless growth. So generally what happens is that if the GDP is what, growing, there is what there is associated what with the rise in GDP, there is associated rise in the employment. But what we are trying to see here is that although GDP is rising, but there is no successive and what sequential rise in what the case of the job market employment, and therefore what we are trying to say is what the jobless growth is the case. And therefore these are various oxymorons. These are various oxymorons. Partition in itself was an oxymoron. The social scientist saying that India lives in what 2 centuries at the same time. On one hand, we have what? On one hand, we have what? Highly urbanized, advanced, modern societies. On one hand, we have what? Still people living in what? The pattern of life of the 19th and 20th century. So these are what? These are oxymoron. So the term oxymoron says this, and we will be exploring so many oxymorons this time. Further, if you talk about oxymorons reflect the ironies of life. Now, what are these ironies? Now, ironies are what? The topic means what? That such contradictions show the strange and surprising realities of what, right? So these oxymorons are part and parcel of what? Are part and parcel of the preparation, are part and parcel of what? Life. And if I want to give an oxymoron for UPSC aspirants, I can say UPSC aspirants and revision. So a UPSC aspirant is one who rarely do what? Revision, who rarely follow what? One book, one source. So these terms are also what? Oxymoron to life. And what happens is that majority of the UPSC aspirants are not able to what? Clear the exam. Why? Because they hardly revise. So UPSC aspirants revising each day is in itself a statement, is in what? Oxymoron. So they reflect what? They reflect the realities of life, the surprising realities of life that exist. That when sometimes we see that we are getting huge amount of what? Happiness and huge amount of what? Pleasure, it also comes with itself small packets of what? Pains will be there, sufferings will be there as well. So these are the context of that particular context. Now we can have what? We can start this particular what? Essay topic again with a very beautiful anecdote. Anecdote is one way of what? Starting and writing the introduction of your what? Essays. So one anecdote that we can use in particular what? This type of essay is the recently came what? The Netflix series, which was the case of what? J. Oppenheimer. So now you know that that particular person was having an achievement in life, that he was a brilliant scientist and the creator of what? Atomic bomb. But at the same time, there was huge regret also in the terms of what? In terms of guilt and moral conflict. And that is what we see, that opposite realities often exist together in life, and that way what makes life is. But what we have to come out with this context is that we have to create things for the larger happiness of the society. That is the context. You can also talk the context of what the Nobel prizes that have started. You can give the background of the Nobel prizes that we have in our what? Understanding. You can also give so many exemplifications, so many oxymorons. Example, the case of peaceful revolution. A revolution is something which actually changes the society fundamentally, but we are given an adjective peaceful revolution. Again an oxymoron. We can write what? We can write we have guided missiles but misguided men. Again it is an oxymoron. Now you have to have somewhat at that same time in the examination hall, if you can create such many contradicting ideas, if you can come out with such many contradicting ideas, only then please dare to attempt this what? Essay topic. Otherwise it will be difficult for you. So please remember this. Perfect. Again Uddhav is having no connection with the UPSC field, and he coming and writing in the chat section is again what? Is again an oxymoron. So that is the context. So we can start with this anecdote in our answers. Further, if we talk about what we can do is, now we can take certain themes while brainstorming. I told you and I've given you what? I've given you several tools and techniques like Peschel approach, like the what and why approach, the case of what? The WIMS approach, and spatial analysis, temporal analysis. So we can do what? All those analysis. So I have taken what? I have taken technology and knowledge. Now still in the era of what? Technology and knowledge, we are what? We are getting more informed. Social media is what? Connecting people globally, but individually they are creating what? Echo chambers. Now there are what? There are certain chambers which are getting what? Which are getting radicalized and what? Becoming extreme in their thoughts with respect to one thought. And so the case will be the other chambers. So digitally we all are sitting in what? Our own echo chambers. and individually also we are becoming what? We are becoming far away from our what? Family members only. Again an oxymoron. Again what's showing the surprising reality, the harsh reality of what life all about is. So automation increases speed but reduces human interaction and what? Empathy. That can be a context. You might have heard this particular famous saying that we have what? That we have guided missiles. We have guided missiles, but misguided what? Men. So we can use this as well. Uddhav, we have taken Uddhav, the thing is, let's have some, let's not become an oxymoron. Okay, Uddhav, we have already taken the first reaction tomorrow, even before the paper came and we started discussing the things. We started discussing the trend of the last year paper as well. And today we are taking a relatively detailed discussion, because today this is the right time that we can actually go in more detail. Of course, one can take 1 week later as well, 1 month later as well. There is no issue. And if AI is something, if technology is something that we all should what? Do an excess of, everyone should take what? Help of technology. And of course, to your surprise, this is not a chat GPT thing. Individuals are not chat GPT thing. So the thing is, you first focus on what you are doing personally in life, and please, if you're doing something good, don't waste your time here. Now, so guided missiles but misguided men, as I told you. So this is the context that we can exemplify. Again, we have what? Economy and development. I told you jobless growth. Again, a harsh reality, a oxymoron of what? A particular developing nature of the society. So prosperity with problems, we see. So economic growth raises income but also increases inequality. So we are seeing regional inequality. We are seeing what? Spatial inequalities in context of India, developing world, the developed north and the developed south, and the comparison of what? The least developing countries. So all those things can be written. Modern comforts reduce hard work, yet lifestyle diseases are what? Rising. So we have what? Several lifestyle diseases which are what? Rising. We have so many what? Lifestyle disorders, like the case of cardiovascular disease, the case of what? The case of diabetes, India becoming the diabetes capital of the world. So India, one India, and Indian government is running the Fit India campaign, and on the other hand, we are what? We are the diabetes capital of the world. So all these are what? All these are the contrast, the realities, the surprising realities of the individuals, societies and the families. Cities become wealthier while natural resources are what? Keep on declining. And therefore the context can be, a city may become rich through real estate while groundwater falls and air pollution what? Worsens. And Delhi becoming a gas chamber, Gurgaon becoming a gas chamber, Delhi NCR, the situation in winters becomes the case. So the bottom crux of this topic was that you need to what? Highlight these what? These different what? Opposing ideas that exist in what? Life, in society, in nature. And you have to explore them, and while you're exploring them, you have to come out with some hidden meanings that they possess. So there might be a reality that people who are preparing for competitive exams are not very serious, are not revising the content on daily basis. This is an oxymoron itself. But in the process, many are getting literated. Many are getting what? Enhancement in their personality. Many are seeing what? Good amount of transformation in their personalities. And therefore, that is also a part of what? Life. And some out of those lot are becoming and what? Trying to become what? A better being, and therefore they clear the exam as well. So that is the context. Again, we can actually what? Focus on the governance and institutions context. So what is legal but largely unjust? So we have what? Rules are made for justice, but then long procedures inside those rules delay the justice, and justice delays is what? Justice denied. That is the context. Strict regulation reduce corruption but slow honest decisions. Further, we have too much paperwork creates what? Hardship for what? Ordinary men. You can have, or you have seen that several times, the old people do not what? Able to accrue and realize their what? Pensions at the right time. So that can be a context. Further, if we talk about international relations and security, peace through fear. You understand what is peace? Peace is something, a situation where an individual what? Lives freely with full freedom, and the situations are such that an individual can develop to its fullest potential, But what we are trying to see here is that we are trying to, in the present world order, we are trying to establish peace via fear. And therefore, the countries are going for what? Armament race, arms race they are going. They are going for have what? They are going for shelving more nukes in their what? Strength. So these can be the context. So countries build weapons to maintain peace, but fear also increases. So again, this is an oxymoron. So the context is, if in life when you have come here, the nature has certain what oxymorons, the human activities and human decisions can also give you some oxymorons. And you have to navigate your what? Route with that path only. So that is the context. Example, during the Cold War, peace survived mainly because both sides feared what? Nuclear destruction. So it is in itself an oxymoron, because peace is a thing or a situation which should not be having any inclusion of what? Fear. But we are now establishing what? Peace via fear. Those nuke race that we are doing. Similarly, on the psychological and human life front, strength in vulnerability. So individuals actually what? Gain strength through their failures. And those who have what? Gain strength and gain success after seeing failures are the ones who can be what? Better build for the future. And those who have what? Remain in those vulnerabilities, in those failures, succumb to those failures, are the individuals who were not what? Able to build better successful careers. So these are the various aspects. So Gandhi showed that non-violence and moral courage were stronger than what? Physical force. Society and culture, unity with division. So we have what? Globalization connects cultures but also strengthened identity conflicts. So now we are seeing that there is what? Son of soil concept, we are seeing linguistic nationalism, we are seeing regionalism increment, we are seeing individual freedom grows, yet community bonds become what? Weaker. So individuals are becoming largely free, but there is cohesion, the social capital, the human capital in the societies are getting what? Declined. So what we are trying to say, that there is existing or there exists an opposite of what is the viewpoint. And life is what? Those thesis, synthesis, antithesis and synthesis is what all is life is. Example, high-rise apartments offer comfort, but many residents hardly know each other and their neighbors. Again, what? An oxymoron which reflect the irony or the surprising reality of what? Life. And finally, what you can do is, you can conclude it. You can conclude this via what? That life is made up of what? Opposite forces. See, opposite forces. But which force we should go? We should go with the majority force, the force which can bring what? The greatest good for the greatest number of people that you have studied in what? Ethics. You might have studied what? In ethics. It is the greatest good for the greatest number. And therefore, life is made up of what? Such opposite forces we have seen. We have seen many opposite forces. Life is made up of what? That only. Where progress brings what? Both opportunities and what? Challenges. Dipank, focus here, beta. First, we are focusing here. It was an extra class. It didn't happen today. No issues. Key takeaway is that true maturity means accepting contradictions. An individual aspirant should accept that contradiction. And what the thing is, that although we are what? Preparing for UPSC exam, there might be what? Some days that we study more. There might be some days that we'll what? Study less. What all is required is that we have to be consistent in that. So that can be a context without becoming negative or rigid. A balanced society grows through wisdom, compassion, and ability to what? Manage life paradoxes. So life is all about paradoxes. We have to what? Manage it. And the one who manages it better is the one who what? Sees the success. So the country which will be managing the paradoxes will be the one who will come out of the issues they are facing very fast. So this was the first essay that we have. Second essay, if we talk about, a grateful mind is very beautiful. A grateful mind is very beautiful. Now you again have to dissect the essay. You have to come out with the related synonyms of what? Grateful mind and what is beautiful. So what is a grateful mind? A grateful mind is a mind which actually possesses gratitude, contentment, self-satisfaction. If you are a person which is or who is grateful, you are living a beautiful life, a life of peace, a life of conscience, a life where there is what? Lack of crisis of conscience, a life which is all about tranquility. So that is something that you can what? That you can revisit and that you can what? Reimagine yourself. So that is the context. So what is the context? A grateful mind is person's ability to appreciate the good things. Many of you are not appreciating that you are getting the access to what? good quality courses, access to what 24/7 high HD quality what data pack, so that you can access these videos online. Many of you are having what the needs of roti kapda makan intact with you, and therefore you all are what, you all are not seeing the greatness, the privilege, the things that you possess. But what you imagine is, you imagine that I don't possess this thing, I don't possess a luxury car, I don't possess what a foreign trip 3 times a year. And therefore what happens is that you guys do not appreciate what you have, and you always crib for what you don't have, and therefore you always feel what frustrated and irritated. And that is the base of this particular what essay topic. So the topic means what gratitude, again a meaning of what gratefulness only, makes a person humble, positive, emotional, beautiful, and what creating happiness for both oneself and the others. We hardly do some appreciation to what other people. See, so there was a person who came in the comment section, and he came and he spoiled the mood of what all of us. If that person, irrespective of preparing for UPSC or not, would have been grateful that whatever he learned from his or her teachers in the last 3-4 years, or in his journey of academics, if he would have been grateful, he would have written, he would have contributed some good pointers for the essay topic, and we would have all become what, we would have all become what, much more enlightened. But that is not the case. That is not the case that we have seen, and therefore he spoiled his mood as well as the mood of the people connected with him in the surroundings. So that is the context. A beautiful life. Example, anecdote, you can start what, from a small town boy who once sold newspaper to support his family. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam became the president of India, yet he always remained grateful to his teachers, the people who shaped his journey. So from a small coastal town in Tamil Nadu, all together to the president of what, India, he was a person, you can see on his facial expressions, was always grateful to his teachers, to his what, people who supported him, and was never egoistic in the path of what, excellence. So you can make an anecdote regarding this. So this is a flowchart also that we are what, showing here. Perfect. Now further, if you talk about, then you can again what, start doing some brainstorming. Again, these are the tricks of what brainstorming, the tools and techniques of brainstorming. I have what, written around 10 pointers. Special, WH and how, WIMS, again I told you what it means. Temporal analysis, time wise. Spatial analysis, then I to all, individual, then family, then group, then society, then state, then nation, then international level, then other aspects. You can use these. Now further, if you talk about, so see, in personal context, because this is what more personal, philosophical, what essay. So in the personal context, contentment over comparison. So a gratitude, a person who is grateful for the privileges he has got, is a person who is always content with what he or she has. And therefore, yes, Parthiban, gratitude is the foundation of human relationships, no doubt about it. Very good, very good. So gratitude actually reduces what, jealousy and constant comparison. I'm content. I don't have any issues with Uddhav, the person who might be mocking us, that don't prepare for UPSC, this is all chat GPT, blah 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 blah. No issues, because we are content in ourselves. And this is something that you should internalize in your moral compass, that there will be always people who will poke you because they themselves are not at peace, but you should remain calm and composed. Failures become lessons instead of what, disappointments. So for a person who is grateful what he or she has earned, that I have got good marks in class 10th, all teachers used to what, praise me. In 12th also that is the case. Okay, now I'm failing, maybe now I'm failing pathetically also, but still let me try to see the sunny side of it. Let me try to see the positive side of it. And therefore, if you have that particular type of mindset, you will always what, end up securing something good. Because in that situation, when you are grateful, failures will become lessons instead of what, disappointments. You will not bog down yourself after seeing the failures. A thankful mind enjoys life more than a demanding mind. No, I am still deficit on this part. I am still deprived of this thing. Arey, what you possess, enjoy that first, because many don't. Many don't. So this is the context. A student who learns from exam failures grows stronger instead of what, losing hope. Then society relation. So again, we are doing what, from the individual, we are now going towards family, towards society, towards other macro religions. Gratitude strengthens the family and friends. It recognizes the invisible work of caregivers and what, sanitation workers. So we know now that whatever the things we have at comfort, many don't, and therefore whenever people who come in our home to do some what, washing, to do some cleaning jobs, we actually what, we actually appreciate them, we actually sit with them, and if possible we actually what, also eat with them. So kindness creates what, social harmony during what, difficult times. Example, communities honoring sanitation workers during a crisis increase dignity and mutual respect, and trust is increased in the society. Yes, 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 Biswa Ranjan Sahu. These type of students are themselves get ignored. No issues. The environment is what, nature is a shared gift. A grateful mind, a mind who is what, happy from within, will see what, will see the nature as a reflection of individual only, and therefore he will not be going towards more environmental degradation. He will become the pioneer of what, environmental conservation. So that is the context. Tribal communities protect sacred groves as a shared natural heritage. So that is the context. So again, these are the further pointers that you'll be putting in terms of governance, in terms of history. You can also take some pointers. Example, humble leadership earns greater public trust. Example, Dr. Bhimram Ambedkar used education to secure rights for oppressed communities. Since he was privileged, he actually what, he actually wanted to give back to the society, and he gave it immensely. So a grateful person is why beautiful, because a grateful person is the person who will always having a strength to give back to the society, and that is where the beauty is coming. That is where the beauty is coming. So sir, this content is for the specific topics that we are discussing that came 26. No, these discussions, these examples that we are seeing here will all become your content in your attempt. Oppenheimer anecdote we have seen. A small town boy, APJ Abdul Kalam, from coastal town of what, Tamil Nadu, all together to what, the President of India. Anecdote you possess. I will be uploading this. I will be uploading this presentation at the rate UPSC fixed Telegram channel. So today it is all about glitch day. So you can write on the Telegram at that UPSC fix and you will get the PDF of it. Please do read it. Please do read it. It will help you. It will help you in building that information content. In building that information content that you have. Now further, let us come to what the conclusion of it. The conclusion of it. So what we can say is that now we can say that real beauty comes from humility, gratitude, thanking attitude, and compassion. And compassion. What is compassion? Compassion is what? Empathy at work is compassion. What is empathy? Empathy is that I'm able to understand the pain. I'm able to understand the pain of what? Pain of the other individual. Like the other individual is what? Feeling. So I can what? Internalize that. So that is the context. So real beauty comes from humility, gratitude, and what? Compassion. Key takeaways: a grateful mind builds stronger relationships, healthier societies, and a more balanced world. So that is something that you should also remember. Next, again, a tricky essay, essay number 3, a tricky one. A tricky one. A thorn is a changed bud. Again, this is slightly tricky. Why it is tricky? Because it is discussing something of transformation and something which is totally analogous. So when we have a plant has several small buds. Now those buds can convert into what? Can convert into flowers, can later convert into what? Maybe another branch, can later convert into what? Maybe a branch which is having more fruits, and it can also what? Convert into what? It can also convert into a thorn. So it is talking about that transformation, when that transformation occurs, and how and what situations it occurs. So we have what? Psychology, strength born from what? Pain. So childhood struggles often what create determination. Example, failure develops resilience and what? Patience. Healing allows strength without becoming what? Bitter. Example, an entrepreneur becomes more disciplined after facing repeated business failures. And we also see that on a rose plant, so there is what? A beautiful flower called as rose, but it has what? Several thorns in it. So thorns here are what? Thorns here are symbolizing what? Symbolizing the case of what? The resistance, the defense, the security that is required to a plant once the plant start facing what? Those external existential survival threats. And therefore, parts of an individual becomes flower, parts of individual becomes what? Thorns. And sometimes largely in might be some phase of life an individual lives like what? Very soft, very what? Giving type of person, but sometimes for certain periods and for certain what types of people he becomes what? Very rigid and becomes what? Very safe and secure and will not allow someone to what? Exploit him or her. So that is the transformation it is what saying, and these are the different levels we can decode it. Against society in history, resistance against injustice. So social reform movements grow from what? Oppression. So these are what? These are what the case of what? Thorn. So thorn here is reflective of what? Thorn here is reflective of an adaptation mechanism. An adaptation mechanism. You always used to what? Attend the people call. But now you have what? You have put some filters. You have put some restrictions that unknown call should not be coming to my phone. That can be a case. So these are the contexts. Labor unions protect workers from what? Exploitation. Collective struggle strengthens what? Democracy. But again, in the examination hall, to think much about the transformation of what? A thorn is changed what? Bud. How a bud is converting into thorn. Why a bud is not converting into what? Always a flower, a flowering plant, a fruit, etc., etc. You have to what? Explore many situations, and this essay requires what? More in-depth analysis of the things in that context. Further, if you talk about, so you have what? You have technology from open to secure. So we have cyber attacks made digital security what? Essential. Again, that particular what? That particular cyber space in which you asked individuals and majority of the people of the society to come, you have what? You have now put filters, firewalls you have put, and therefore why? Because you want to safeguard that digital cyber space from cyber attacks. Economic protection for the self-reliance. So supply chain crisis encourage what? Local manufacturing. So sometimes we say that we have now what? Global supply chains, but still always when there is what? A stress on the global supply chains, it is a local manufacturing which helps. So we have what? Cause and effect, and therefore we can synthesize that thorns are created to protect life during what? Difficult times, and therefore not necessarily they are always what? Bad. Strength is valuable only when it protects growth and does not stop future flowering. Future flowering. So it is an adaptation in biology that you will see that cactus has various what? Thorns on its body or surface. Why? Because it does not want that someone can come and eat it. If it has thorns, no one is there to what? Eat it. Only few animals can eat it. Not all. Not all have the capacity to what? Break it. So it has become itself so that it can survive. And that is what you have to what? Exemplify in terms of individual, family, tribal level, economy level, entrepreneur level, woman level. A woman should what? Learn to say no to what? All types of injustices. And while a woman saying no to all types of injustices is a thorn that a woman has what? Built. And therefore that woman is a transformed bud that exists in the society. So forward looking close, a just and peaceful society allows people to replace fear with creativity and protection with what? Progress. Protection with progress. So let us further see the essay number 4. Again, this is an essay that you would have what? Attempted easily, in the sense that you would be having what? Good amount of understanding and content on this particular what? Topic. When two elephants fight, it is the grass that gets trampled. Two elephants. Understand what are the two elephants? Two elephants are what? Individuals companies, countries, state who are in power. Grass is what? Grass is something which is what? Which is the third person here, which is weak, which is vulnerable, which is exploited person or the exploited class. So elephants can be what? Two countries. I am giving examples. US, Iran. I am giving examples. Russia, Ukraine. I am giving examples. US and Russia, China axis. Two elephants can be two caste groups fighting with each other. Now let's say two different caste groups are fighting with each other. What happens is if two individuals fall in love with each other, they will be at the receiving end, like just like the grass. There can be episodes of honor killing which can be seen. And again, therefore, the context can be that the marital alliance cannot be possible. Two elephants can be center and state. If there is center state conflict, who will be what at the disadvantage state? The individuals of that particular what state, because they will not be getting the finances, they will not be getting the conditional cash transfers from the center. If two individuals are at what fighting like elephants, like mother and father, who will be at the disadvantage state? The child, because there can be divorce, there can be what certain unwanted and unwarranted situations in the family, and the child will be at the disadvantage. So all those things are the cases where the grass will be what trampled, and therefore you have to what metaphorically decode the different what meanings that you can give to what the two bigger aspects, two bigger entities which are fighting and leading to what a third non-active, passive and a vulnerable, weak counterpart to be affected all the times. Yes, you can also what contribute to the understanding and exemplification. Siblings in the same family can grow up to be quite different from each other. Yes, Divya. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So all those examples you can also what take, which we are giving here, So you can take examples here. Now, if we see the conclusion of this particular essay, because I have given so many exemplifications of this. So the synthesis here is what? Power struggles repeatedly shift their economic, social and environmental cost onto the weakest people. Weakest people. Now, if two corporations are coming and are what? Fighting for each other with respect to their what businesses, and are what lowering down, cutting short their prices of the product, it is the employees will be at the risk. That is, they will become like grass. They will be what? They will be fired because now the company will be earning less margins. So various things can be seen. Peace is meaningful only when it protects the vulnerable, not merely the powerful. And therefore, we are also giving a solution to that particular situation. That it should not be the rule of the nature that when two elephants will fight, the grass will always what? The grass will always be trampled. The grass might also will lead to what? Development of some thorns, metaphorically speaking. Forward looking close, good governance and strong institutions must protect the grass, because the strength of every society depends on how it treats its weakest section of society. How it treats the weakest section of the society. That is something that is important. That is something that is important. Please let me know that will you be able to what? Try to write the essays for these two themes. So this was the first preference that we could have taken, and this is the second preference. Of course, if you have exemplifications which you can come out in the exam for these two technical keywords, you can what? You can think of attempting them as well, but you have to be very much careful, because these are tricky, slightly tricky options or the choices in the essay section A. The rest are the more preferred choices. Finally, we have what? Finally, we have the section 2, and in section 2, the first essay is what? Nature is the symbol of the spirit. Nature is the symbol of the spirit. Spirit is what? Spirit is what? We all individuals have our soul, have a spirit inside us. It is same like what nature. Nature is reflection of what? Mountains. The mountains have what? Courage. Courage to stand tall, courage to stand in tough situations. That is what the meaning of our spirit should be. You have what? You have rivers. Now rivers what? Rivers constantly cut those mountains. Rivers actually let us know and learn us that a river cuts the mountain not because of its energy and power it possesses, but a river cuts a mountain because of its consistency, consistency and consistency. And therefore, what is the context we have is that we see that just like rivers, the soul also navigates, sometimes become tough on certain tough situations. What nature tells us, what environment tells us, that environment is inclusive, sabka saath, sabka vikas. Soul is also like that. If you help someone, you feel compassionate, you feel what? More fulfilled on that day. Your spirit is at peace that day. Because once we start vibing with the nature, we become what? The nature itself. The topic means nature reflects the deeper values, emotions, and essence of what human. It suggests that beauty, balance, and resilience of nature inspire inner peace, wisdom, and what spiritual growth inside us as well. So all those exemplifications that I'm trying to tell you, you have to what? Give in your answers. Open your mind. You must have what? Understood several things about nature. Nature is about what you have understood in your environment, ecology, the case of ecosystem. In the definition of ecosystem itself, there is what talks of interdependencies and interactions. A spirit is something which also depends upon what? Interdependencies and interactions for it to become more mature, for it to become more pure, for it to become what? More enhanced. Inclusiveness is there. In respect to the conclusion, so we have what? We have Kashif is asking, sir, in respect to the conclusion of every essay, can you briefly explain points one should keep in mind to write the conclusion? Yes, Kashif, let us give you some inputs. So what this flow diagram which I was telling you was having the meaning was, just a second. So I made this particular what? So Kashif, there will be intro that you'll be writing around 1 to what 1.5 pages, around what? Around 150 words you will be writing. Then you write what? Then you write your what? Thesis statement. Then you write what? Your thesis statement. Thesis statement means that you are now giving the direction to your essay, that I will be writing in this direction. That yes, a grateful mind is a beautiful, enlightened state of what? A person's existence. So thesis statement is that statement which gives what? Direction to your essay. So it what? It gives direction to your essay. It gives direction to your essay. Then we have P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6, P7, P8, P9, dot, we have Pn. Now, further, finally we have what? Finally we have the case of what? Conclusion. Now, Kashif is asking how the conclusion should be what? Connected with the whole essay. Always remember this thing in your mind, that we have what? Our intro should merge with our what? Thesis statement properly. There should be what? A beautiful flow and connection, and what? A seamless connectivity with the intro and the thesis statement. The thesis statement should what? Merge beautifully with what? The paragraph 1, so that the flow can be maintained. And then every paragraph should be what? Connected with each other very beautifully. So we will be having what? Connections of each and every what? Paragraph with the earlier paragraph that it has, like this. So all should be looped in with proper linkers. Example, firstly, similarly, perhaps, accordingly, moreover, similarly, somewhere, firstly, secondly, thirdly, and there should be a flow. There should be a what? Proper flow should be there. Proper flow and coherence should be there. Proper flow and coherence should be there. And what we should remember is that we should what? We should connect the last paragraph with our conclusion. We should connect our last paragraph with conclusion. And one important thing, if we can able to do, is that we should also what? Connect our introduction with our what? Conclusion. So always try to what? Always try to what? Always try to connect your conclusion with your intro. So whatever the thought you have written in the intro, Kashif, whatever thought you have written in your intro, let's say an anecdote of APJ Abdul Kalam you have given, whatever it may be, please try to again reflect that same thought, same idea again in the conclusion, so that the examiner will again connect instantly with your introduction in the conclusion itself, while he will be what? Giving you the marks, and therefore the marks can be what? The marks can be enhanced in the later phases of what? The essay time period as well. So that can be a context that you should remember, Kashif. So these were the ways in which you will be what? Dealing with the essay topics. Now further if we talk about, if we have this as essay 5. So the nature of the context that we have discussed, so synthesis will be the health of nature reflects the health of human values. Again, as I usually say in the class also, that humans should respect their nature, because humans, if they will not respect the nature will exist but without humans. And therefore that is the context. Protecting the environment begins with what? Discipline, empathy, and respect for what? Life. A sustainable future needs what? Both scientific progress and spiritual respect for what? Nature, so that the soul can also what? Coexist beautifully inside a beautiful nature. This was what? This was the sixth essay theme that we have. Just a second. A well-educated mind will always have what? More questions than answers. So again, this was again an easy question, because in order to come towards the knowledge, in order to what? Come more closer to the knowledge, all we require is what? Questions and questions. You have heard Socrates saying that I know that I knew nothing. Understand it, how big this a statement is. Socrates is saying, I know that I knew nothing, and therefore I am a person who do what? Who do Socratic dialogue. You must have understood. He used to go and sit with people and ask questions. While asking questions, he will be getting answers, and he actually enriched his what? Understanding of things. And therefore questions are something which can give you what? Answers to solutions that the humanity is what? Facing. So we'll be having what? We'll be having science. In science, everything depends upon what? Curiosity. So curiosity is something which actually what? Drives discoveries. Again, curiosity is questioning. Beyond rote learning, it actually what? It actually make individuals' mindset, education more comprehensive, more holistic. Then we have what? Democracy. In democracy, question is the root of what? The functioning of democracy. If we don't ask question, then how the functioning of democracy can be taken place? So dissent, deliberation, debate, and discussion are the founding what? 4 keywords behind the bedrock of what? Democracy. So that is something. And therefore RTI RTI strengthens what? Transparency and accountability. Similarly, technology in AI. AI gives quick answers but cannot replace what? Human judgment. Ethical questions is something which we cannot what? Outsource to technology, are more important than technical ability. Algorithms must be checked for their biasness. And therefore, a society which is not giving 100% of its agency, human agency to its innovation of AI, is a society which is well educated as compared to one which is actually blindly imitating, following what the case of our what? AI. Case of AI. So that can be a context. Then evidence before action. Policy should be what? Improved through what? Feedback. So feedbacks are also what? Taken via the case of what? Questioning as well. So social audits are what? In now the recent the school Theek Karo campaign. What individual creators are doing? Individual creators are going in the government schools and they are asking what? Questions. That why the ceiling of this particular classroom is not properly what? Managed. Why the water is not coming clean? Why there is what? So much amount of what? Issues in the midday meal scheme. The midday meals that is happening. So those questions are the way through which feedbacks, through which social auditing, through which what administrators should question whether the rules serve justice or not. Then humility creates wisdom. Listening to different viewpoints improve what's understanding. It helps us to understand self, reflection, introspection, etc. So Gandhi called his autobiography the story of my what? My experiments. And largely these experiments were what? The questions he asked to the self. And the seventh question is again very important. But again, majority of you have what? Could have attempted this properly. Shelving hard decisions is the least ethical course. Now let us understand this. Let us understand this. The topic means that avoiding difficult choices may appear what? Convenient. A nation not taking what? Example, a nation like India, let's say, not taking today hard decision of what? Structurally changing its education system to align with the artificial realities, artificial intelligence reality, might be a convenient option, might be an option which is going in comfort, but in the longer run, it can what? It can give what? More troubles than comfort. But it often increases problems and harms those affected by the decision. It highlights that ethical leadership requires courage, responsibility, and timely action, especially when choices involve what? Challenges or competing what? Interest. Competing interest. Many disasters become worse because repairs and preventive actions are delayed and until it is too late. But this question is also having what? An element. This question is also having an element. And what is that element? The element is that in the later part, you can also give what? An antithesis. That sometimes we actually have to hold hard decisions. Example, people were criticizing what? The Modi government. Of course, we will not be using namesake exemplifications in writing our essays, but I'm just giving. People are saying that during Operation Sindoor, we should go for a full-blown war, etc., etc. But a leader took what? Leader took a shelving of that hard decision because it would have what? Disrupted the lives of many individuals on both sides of the border. And we know that Pakistan is a failed state, a rogue state, and therefore a failed state and a rogue state cannot be what? Dependable enough that who has the final control of what? Nuclear weapons in that particular what? Country. And therefore the things can go haywire as well. Things can go haywire as well if we do not have a proper intelligence. If we do not have a proper intelligence. Antithesis also sometimes can be what? Sometimes therefore sometimes shelving is also important to achieve what? Greatest good Greatest good for the greatest number as well. So antithesis is something which was important here. So this you can keep in mind. And finally, we have what? Finally, we can also see this, that ethical leadership is always what confronted with difficult choices, but in that context, moral courage should become what more important than a convenient action. So that can be taken, but sometimes we can also what put some restraint as well. Put some restraint as well. So conclusion is synthesis. Inaction often causes what greater harm than difficult action. Ethical leadership requires courage, accountability in what timely actions and decisions. History remembers leaders who solved difficult what problems, not those who what postponed them. And you being in the silent majority, you being in the silence is also what an action, or is also what a reflection of what your way of doing the things. Finally, we have what the essay number 8 that we have. A leader is one who follows the follower. Here also in this particular essay, there was an element of what antithesis that you could have what given. Here also you can give what antithesis in the later part. Why? Because it is not necessary that a good leader should always follow what? A good leader should always follow what his followers. Because sometimes the followers can be having what some narrow-mindedness, and they can ask that we don't want this, but a leader should impose from top that have AI in the governance, have AI in almost all the functions and service delivery mechanisms of the government, and it imposes. There might be so much what? So much hue and cry by the individuals of that particular nation that it will make our job loss, etc., etc. But then an individual seeing the outside competition, he should be going for what? He should be going for AI adaptation and AI what adaptability. It means a true leader does not only give directions but also listens, understands, and what learns from the people they lead. So this will be the first part. So this will be our what? Part 1, which will be majority, more than 70 to 80% will be writing on this in the main body. But here later also again we'll be giving what antithesis. And what is the antithesis we should have? That sometimes a good leader also take actions which are not in the likings of their follower, for what? For a long-term vision and gain. For long-term vision and gain. So this will be what? This will be the remaining 15-20% at least you can give in your main body. So this how you will be what? Explaining it, so that the essay will be what? Having more comprehensiveness. Anecdote you can use. During the Salt March, Mahatma Gandhi walked with ordinary people and understood what daily struggle before what leading them. So participative leadership, legitimacy, and also being what like the other people of the area. So the context here, there can be what? There can be the parts of what there can be parts of the main body as well. So these are the 70-80% dimension that will be writing here in context of what democratic governance, the grassroots development of the subjects, the followers by the leaders, then organizations, so leading through teamwork, then global leadership, listening to what smaller nations, and these are the other aspects that we are having. So this is something we can write here. Crisis management is one. Ethical boundary. Listen, don't follow the mob. So leaders should hear genuine. See, they have written, leaders should hear what genuine public concerns. Popular opinion should not override constitutional values. Leadership requires what? Moral courage during what? Difficult times. The goal is to educate society, not to exploit emotions. As Ambedkar defended equality despite what? Strong social opposition. So, what is right, that should be followed. What is right, that should be what? Executed, and not all the things blindly. And not all the things blindly. And conclusion here can be leadership is built on what? Service, empathy, and what? Public trust. The strongest leader empower people instead of what? Controlling them. A great leader walks with what? The people today and prepares them to become what? Leaders of tomorrow. Leaders of tomorrow. So this is something that you can what? Go with. And if you want, you can also what? Connect with the SRIJAN batch, in which all the individual teachers will be coming up with their understanding of what? The subject of both with respect to prelims and mains, that we are starting from 2nd of September. And we will be again what? Connecting in the classes. And this was a brief discussion. This particular what? Presentation will be uploaded to you all. At this particular Telegram channel at the UPSC fix. You can what? Go and you can see the answers, and you can keep these insightful what? Examples and content and anecdotes and exemplifications with you, so that you can apply them in other topics of essay, because largely these topics are philosophical, psychological, and you can use the same content in many places as well. And this is how your earlier toppers have what? Developed their content as well. So this was what we have discussed today in this session. I hope you liked the session. There was some electricity issue in between, but we have done what best we could have done. It is a humble responsibility and your duty to share this particular what? Session with all the students. And please, if possible, like, share the video. Thank you and have a nice day.